Okay, good morning, welcome to part 2, Blue Spot Caliper rebuild. Now all of the spare parts are finally here, so today we can put it back together. Okay, before I get started, I just want to answer this quick question which inevitably comes up almost every time I do a two-part job. It's in two parts quite simply to assess everything. Yes, I could go ahead, order the entire internal component kit and rebuild the whole thing in one day, of course, but you might not need the entire internal component kit. You might not need the pistons. I might not have needed these pins. They might have dropped out nicely. So it's an economic decision. Obviously, you strip it all apart first, spread it into two piles, a pile of trash and a pile of treasure. And it's only the parts in the trash pile that you need to order, and then economically, you're not spending more money than you have to on parts you don't need to replace. I'm sure that makes sense. Right, now as with most things reassembly, the last things out are the first things back in. So in this case, that was the two rubber seals on the inside cylinder. There's a narrow slot and a wide slot. And when you look at the seal kit, there's a narrow seal and a wide seal. So it's obvious which ones go in which. You've got some lubricating red silicone rubber grease supplied in the kit. So give them a little smear of that, get them nice and slippery, and gently slip them into the relevant corresponding slots nice and safely. Okay, just something to be mindful of when you put these two seals in. The pressure seal, the big chunky one on the inside, that snaps nicely into its track first time, but the outer seal is the dust seal, and that's very thin. It's only 2 millimeters square, and it's very easy for it, when you massage it into its track, for it to twist. And if it has done, you can feel it. It feels like a little lump on it. If you've got that, don't leave it. Don't ignore it. That won't do. You must get it nice and flat. Take a seal pick, nice blunt one, and just massage it until it flips around straight and it all sits perfectly flat in its track. Very important, otherwise in the future they can end up poking out and not doing their job. So there we are, they are both fitted perfectly. Next thing, a little bit of the lubricant just round the outside of the piston so it doesn't drag as you slide it in past those rubber seals. Line it up and just gently, keeping it nice and straight, slip it in. All the way back. There we are. Now as this is a twin piston caliper, we do exactly the same again, put the seals in the other side. There we go. That's in. And the tricky little dust seal. Nice and carefully. Should go in without twisting. There we are, first time. Right, now normally with any other caliper you would lubricate the piston, drop it down that gap and slide it into the other cylinder. But this is where blue spot calipers differ from others. This cylinder has no back to it, it's completely open, and the blue spot part is the back to this cylinder, and that has to be inserted first from the inside and with a new O-ring as well. Okay, worth noting also that these caps that screw in from the inside, they're a left-hand thread when viewed from the tool side. So turn it on its side with the flowery socket end outwards, push it up into the cylinder till it reaches the top, drop your special tool on there and turn clockwise, and that will bring it up towards you. Now you get to a point where you'll feel the O-ring engage, and you just get hold of it, and with a 22mm socket do it up. And we will torque this up once the caliper's mounted on the bike. For now, wrist tight is fine. Now, as you can see, looking in there, you can see the blue cap. That forms the back of the cylinder itself. Now, that's a pressurized seal, that little rubber O-ring, so it pays to take a visual look inside there once you've fitted it to make sure all the way around that that little rubber O-ring is not poking out somewhere. It's actually gone into its seat nice and cleanly, and in this one, it absolutely has. Job done. And just the same as before, a bit of lube on the piston itself, and offer it up. Tricky. There it is. Wiggle a little bit at a time, gently with no force. It will slide nice and easy into its new rubber seals. There it is. That's it. Right, when you fit the pistons, just a suggestion, don't grease inside the cylinders, because obviously when you push the piston in, it will push the grease in with it. Put the grease around the outside of the piston, and as you push it in, the rubber seals will scrape off the excess, and you can just get a cloth and wipe it out of the way. Then you've only got a tiny amount of grease inside there, just a residue, and the fresh fluid, when you bleed them up, it'll wash it out of the way anyway. Anyway, that's that done. Now let's put the pads in. Right, quick and easy, hand under the caliper body, drop the pads in. Soft bits facing. Here we are. Drop your stainless steel spring on top. In the first pin, pop it through. Make sure it goes through the pad, over the spring clip. Through the other pad, and then out the other side. Here we are. And with your seal pick, make sure that the holes that hold the little clips are facing upwards and accessible like that. And then pop the clips in. Second one in, through the pad, in. There we are, pads in, 2 new bleed valves. Okay, blue spot calipers, strip and rebuild. Now, not to be confused with front. This is the rear calipers. This is how you do the rear ones. The fronts are slightly different, so don't use this video to guide you on removing the blue spot caps on your front calipers. They come out from the outside, not the inside. So we'll cover all that in detail when the time comes, but for this particular video, that's how you do rear calipers on your XJR. Piece of cake. Nice and easy. One tiny little special tool needed. Stick it in your toolbox. You'll use it on the front ones as well. Anyway, braided hoses, I hear you cry. Yes, of course, I could put braided hoses on it, but I have set a budget for this particular project and I don't want to go over it. So I'm going to go all through the essentials first. All the nasty shocks and all the things I have to repair, like the state of that and the new pistons and all that. Once I've got that, whatever we've got in the kitty at the end, I'll get myself some nice braided hoses if I can afford it. Otherwise, I'll have to go with these, and they are perfectly serviceable, and therefore I'll flood them all up with fluid at the end. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.